Let's jump into we've talked about the stadiums. Let's talk a little bit here about the players. The new league season starts. It's next week, right, Sean?
Um,
Right, Sean? Sean, you haven't
yeah,
talked much this
yeah.
podcast, so right,
I
Sean?
I don't know shit about Kansas City, man. I've been a few times, only visit. I could care less where everything goes. I just want the
Fucking
Chiefs to
pipe
stay.
down, bitch.
Yeah, sometime next week. I believe it's what, March 8th, new league season.
The new league season
13th.
doesn't
March
have like
13th.
anything
Ah,
to do with.
that's not next week.
It's not next week. It's two weeks away. The new league season kicks off. We've got the
Uh,
combine. Thanks,
Find
Tybo.
me.
That is a
all
fine.
right, double fine.
But the new league season starting up in a couple of weeks. We have the ability to tag Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. Um, what
No,
do we
we
think
can only
about?
tag one person.
No, you get two tags.
But we've
We're only
already
gonna,
done one.
yeah.
We've tagged whom?
L'Jarius
It's not
Sneed.
No,
official yet,
it's not
but
official yet.
they're gonna put the tag on him, let him explore trade opportunities,
Correct.
which more than likely sounds like we're gonna trade him.
Yeah, so like every fucking
Yeah, just reminds me of the Tyreek situation. We gave him the Tyreek situation. We gave Tyreek and L'Jarius Sneed both contracts where we're not going above this. This is where you're sitting. Go out and see if you can make better money. And if you can, great, fantastic. Make the trade happen. Go out and make your money.
I don't
Otherwise,
know about that,
this is
Jim.
sitting here for
I
you.
don't
Don't think we
know.
offered a contract?
I think it's more like the D Ford situation.
You don't think we offered a contract at all?
No,
we didn't
you're
franchise tag his ass.
yeah. We offered Tyreek that contract. We franchise tag D Ford, and then we immediately traded him right away, where he signed a contract with the Niners to stay on long term.
No,
That's what it's
he was
shaping up for, more
so
like with Snead right now.
D Ford.
Was
Tyreek had
tagged.
time. Hang on.
Hang
Tyreek
on.
still had time left on his contract, which is why he wasn't tagged. D Ford was tagged. LJ is tagged just because they don't have time left on their contract. It's the same thing with Chris Jones. He doesn't have another year left on his contract. If we don't tag them, we don't have the exclusive right to trade them. That's why they're tagged. It doesn't mean that we're immediately looking to ship them off. I guarantee you, we offered him a contract. He thought he could get more for bang for his buck. And that's why we're in the situation where we're at. I guarantee
It's
this is very
it's
much like the
it's not
Tyreek situation.
it's not like more than likely like we offered him 58 million and then he went elsewhere to seek more money. And he didn't even Tyreek didn't even go to the place that offered him the most money. He went to the place he wanted to go to that just offered him more money than the Chiefs. If he just wanted money, he would have been on the Jets.
Right. And I think that's the situation that we're in with L'Jarius. I think he thinks his value is worth more than the Chiefs are offering, and that's okay. And we're also working on a deal,
Man,
especially with the increased $30 million that nobody expected in a cap space that we're going to use towards Chris Jones. That deal looks to be getting done very, very soon.
Now I want to bring it back a little bit here. I believe recently, right after Super Bowl time, I believe you said we are going to have up to about $100 million in cap space
Yeah, I
this
think
offseason.
think we're going to be in that 70 to 80
I
range.
I don't know where you get these numbers at, man. We're sitting at like 17 million right now before
Yes,
like a
we
lot of other stuff happens. Like, where are you getting this extra 60, 70
are
million
we
at?
sitting at 17 after cutting MBS?
no.
With the upgrades to the players' contracts of Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Nick Bolton, it went from 28 million down to 17 million. I don't know where you get your numbers at. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I was on over the cap. That's where I typically go, but I also wasn't, I guess, looking at the time and when
That's
I
where
didn't
it
even
typically
know those
goes.
players got upgrades to their contracts.
I never knew it either. It just came out in the past like 24, 48 hours that they get it's a certain player prediction uh reoccurring thing for them. If they play up to a certain level, they get increases in their contracts for their rookie contract.
Interesting. So without any changes counting MVS, no restructures, no nothing. The Chiefs are looking at right now at 9 million in cap space. That also doesn't include the 30 million in addition to the cap space for 2024. So with the addition of the $30 million in cap space, the $12 million in cap space that we're getting from cutting MVS, potential of up to 37 million in restructuring from Patrick Mahomes' deal, and then also potential cap space regained from restructuring Juwan Taylor's deal could see us up in that 70 to 80 range with now the new coming of the adjustments from the rookie contracts.
All right, the way you say it now, it sounds a lot better than the way you said it the first time because I thought you were
Again,
just blowing
didn't
smoke up my ass.
so that also wasn't including the rookie deal adjustment. So take those out of there and you can get an additional 10 to 20 on top of that. So you'd be looking at that 90 to 100. So we're at that 70 to 80 mark again if the restructuring does happen.
I think the restructuring happens for a few people, but not everybody that we're thinking of.
No, those are just the two restructurings that I was talking about. Patrick Mahomes, Juwan Taylor.
We'll see.
I think this is a very good example of why Clark Hunt is rated one of the, not one of, the worst owner in the entire NFL. He does what he has to do to maintain a winning team. And our track record, since even before we got Patrick Mahomes, we don't pay defensive backs.
We don't pay anybody. No, we are one of the lowest teams in giving out guaranteed contracts. We will spend the cap space. We will not spend liquid cash.
But anyways, we let our DBs ride out their rookie contracts and we let them go. That's been what we've done for a long time. L'Jarius Sneed has been an all-pro corner for us for a while now. We love him. But look who we got backing his ass up. Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson. They're all serviceable, to say the least. They're all serviceable cornerbacks in the NFL. And we have a great track record of drafting those motherfuckers, even late in the draft.
Don't forget,
Fifth
we still
round.
have Shamari Connor who can play that position.
Najee
And
Johnson.
I was going to say Nazir Johnson, who missed the entirety of the season due to injury. Like we got two more guys that can step in there if need be.
It's a gambling man's game in the NFL. Do we pay the superstar and watch him deteriorate in front of our eyes, or do we let him go and bank on somebody else?
Do you pay Chris Jones, or do you personally pay Chris Jones, or do you pay L'Jarius?
You pay
L'Jarius is
Chris Jones. You pay Chris
L'Jarius
Jones
is
right away.
27 years old. Chris Jones is starting next season with a 3 at the beginning of his age.
You pay Chris Jones. He is the difference maker. L'Jarius Sneed.
Is he going to the question is he going to continue to be that difference maker? He has been. Will he continue to be when we know players decline starting at the age of 30?
There are a lot of factors to consider regarding that choice, but I think one of the most important is how we're able to draft to fill that hole. If we look at previous draft picks, defensive linemen, especially later on in the draft,
Hard.
don't really work out for us. Okay?
Outside of Chris Jones.
He was a second round pick.
Later in
Not
the
a,
draft.
that's not a late round pick though.
I'm thinking like fourth round and beyond.
Fair.
Okay? We've seen success at the defensive back position, safety or corner, later on in the draft. It's a little bit easier for us to get value at that position in the draft. George Karlaftis, first year, we were up in the air. Was he really worth a first round draft pick? Second year, I think he cemented his value as a first round draft pick. The tape is still out on Felix. Okay? We don't really know if he was worth the first round draft pick. But there's plenty of examples of the Kansas City Chiefs and Brett Veach and Andy Reid drafting defensive backs later on in the draft that make an impact on this team.
And who is a better example than none other than L'Jarius Sneed, who was a fourth round draft pick for us.
Man, you go further than that.
L'Jarius
Yeah.
was sixth.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure he was a sixth round.
Since being selected in the fourth round of the 2020 NFL draft, Sneed's ascent in the league has not only been marked.
There we go.
Yeah, fourth round.
So, but Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, one of them was a late round draft pick, and I'm pretty sure the other one was undrafted free agent.
Correct.
Or
yeah,
a seventh
like
rounder. One of the
or even later draft pick.
Regardless, late round draft pick, undrafted free agent. We've seen success in the defensive back position. That track record is not there for defensive linemen, and we know as football fans, viewers that kind of know a little bit about the game, defensive linemen that make an impact in the NFL, usually drafted between the first and third round. There are very few examples where there are solid contributors on NFL teams that come later than that.
There are not many that are going to be free agents this year that would also not garner a massive hit. You've obviously got Chris Jones and DJ Reader is there, and so is Fletcher Cox. And then that's kind of it. There's not anybody who really makes waves as a defensive tackle. Chris Jones walks. We're going to have to really depend on either making a trade or having to go to the draft, and having Charles Omenihu out for probably 90% of this next season with the torn Achilles, or whatever his issue was.
ACL, he won't be out 90%.
He'll be out for at least half of the season. Then
I don't know, man.
We're also going to have to deal with that issue.
Motherfuckers are coming back within 6 months on an ACL.
Yeah. Crazy.
There's so having to deal with either way. Corner, I think we're set up a little bit better for success. Obviously, losing arguably the best corner in the league this year it would be a massive hit to our defensive room. Losing out on Chris Jones would also be a massive hit because he is one of the best players in the entire league, offense or defense. Also, having him decline on a fat contract is not the best option. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision because that's a tough
one. I will also propose this to you. Top name cornerbacks in the league that have repeated their success. I feel like that list is much shorter than defensive linemen that have been able to repeat their success year after year. There have been big name defensive linemen that stay at the top of their game for at least a few years. Fletcher Cox is one of those motherfuckers. Aaron Donald is the best of those motherfuckers. Okay? L'Jarius Sneed could have just had a season where he played on top of his head, and the next season, it goes to shit. You look at Jalen Ramsey. You go back a little further.
He's played really well. He was just injured this year.
Okay. That factors into it as well.
I agree.
I truly feel like Jalen Ramsey is almost a shell of his former self. Okay. Marcus Peters, for us, we felt like he was a ball hawk. He goes to other teams, he gives up a lot of yards, still gets a little bit of interceptions here and there, but fucking you go back a little further. Darrelle Revis had had absolutely stunning years as a defensive back, but the fall off was real hard. The fall off was real hard with Darrelle Revis.
Real hard. It was sad to see.
So I I hate to play the businessman part of this game, but if I'm choosing between L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones, man, I'm for sure leaning Chris Jones. But that all has a caveat to it. Is Chris Jones going to be okay with taking a little bit shorter of a contract? We're not going to lock him up for a long time because of his age. If he's cool with taking a 2-year, 3-year contract at a reasonable price, then absolutely we have to go Chris Jones here.
What's your idea of a reasonable price? Because I don't think the issue is length. I think it's still price. He was looking last year at that 30 plus outlet. We were looking at 27, 28. I don't think he's looking for anything less than what he was asking for at the beginning of the season.
It's going to be something that's like completely backloaded, wherever it promises a lot of money for him there. He's going to have a lot of money up front as well too, but there's going to be some
Going to be
stipulation.
guaranteed. He's
There's
looking for fully guaranteed.
there's going to be some stipulation where they want to put it in there where he's going to get a lot more money than the contract says he's actually going to get at some point, whether that be incentives that he hits throughout the seasons or marks he earns for like all pro or defensive player of the year or something like that. He's going to get his guaranteed money no matter what, but there's going to be something in that contract which makes it a little bit larger than all the other contracts. That some of the stuff that he has is going to be really hard for him to obtain year after year.
Regardless of how he played in the postseason, I do not think Chris Jones really has the leverage to ask for what he was already asking for. Do any of his numbers, do any of his numbers line up with the top defensive tackles in the league? You talk about the fiasco at the beginning of the season, missing a game, really not turning it on until like the last 6 games of the season. Man, Chris Jones' presence was felt out there, but like numbers wise, he didn't come on until the latter part of the season and the playoffs. Okay. I feel like the opposite of what Sean said. This contract is going to be front loaded, and I feel like it's going to be short, and it's very dependent on that guaranteed money. I don't know how much the Chiefs really have to give up on that guaranteed money part of it. But if we get Chris Jones for 2 to 3 years at a contract that's like sub top 5 DTs out there, that's what we really got to go for. Okay? Fuck the Katz brothers.
Yep.
Chris Jones really needs to be thinking about career versus legacy. Okay? I don't care right now as far as contract talks. I don't give a shit about what Chris Jones has done in the past. What can you bring to me upcoming? What can you bring to me in the near future? Because, buddy, you only got a few years left. Realistically, you got 1 or 2 good years left in you. I promise you that.
In regards to how much money do the Chiefs have to give in guaranteed money, the Hunt family as an is worth $15 billion. So I think they have enough money liquid to give him whatever he wants.
The
It's
cap has to
will
play in with that. It's not all about what they're fucking worth.
hey man, I'm just saying they're worth 15 billion. That means they got at least a couple billion that they can liquefy for whatever the contract is worth. Because at the end of the day, that's what the guaranteed money is. You can't go over the cap, but the guarantee is how much money is your owner willing to pay out of their own pocket, regardless of injury or anything else. That's where the guarantee comes in, is directly from the owner. And the Hunt families were 15 billion, so they got to have a couple bill ready to liquefy whenever they want.